We will break down the stigma of mental illness by
speaking up about mental illness,
getting help and encouraging others to get help,
and listening to individuals that suffer from mental illness.
Hello, I am an ISU student and I have experienced extreme irritability, stress, and worry. I thought I was the only one until I researched that 89% of the students here also have anxiety.
I'm an ISU student and I suffer from extreme mood swings, sadness, and hopelessness. I thought I was alone until I researched 66% of students also suffer from depression.
I'm an ISU student and I suffer from anxiety and depression, and I was afraid to seek help because of the stigma around mental illness until I found out through research that 60% of students feel the same way.
The majority of college students suffer from mental illness, and we're here to tell you you're not alone. You shouldn't be afraid to seek help. If you're experiencing any other symptoms Aisha, Mason, or Brent had, we encourage you to seek the ISU Counseling Center.
we're going to talk about why healthcare is different if you're Black, Latino, and or poor. Therefore, the only people talking about it is probably the minorities. They can't seek help if there's no healthcare. Let's start there. Our goal here is to make sure people know that we matter by bringing awareness to this problem. The foundation estimates that Latinos and African Americans experience 30 to 40% of poorer health outcomes than white Americans. In low-income neighborhoods, patients with diabetes are 10 times more likely to undergo limb amputation than those in affluent areas. Compared to white Americans, the rate of hospitalization for patients with diabetes is twice as high for Latinos and 3 times as higher for African Americans. Wrapping this up, we still have so much more to learn about cultural barriers that prevent some patients from obtaining the best possible health care, but that alone won't be enough to make a difference. We must agree that unequal care is unacceptable. Only then can we make improvements that are needed. Thanks.
I want to talk about mental illness and how it oppresses minority groups. The first things first, we'll start with special education, which was created in 1975 by the government because they felt like the people was discriminating against people with a mental illness or a disability, which was, they live by the Constitution, which is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I feel special education, nowadays they use this to oppress Black and Latino male boys because they feel as if they're not up to par or they're not acting feminine, which is being able to sit for long periods of time. The reason why young boys who are not able to sit for a long period of time is because they have testosterone, so they're not able to sit for a long period of time pre-puberty. Whereas girls, they're made to sit for long periods of time as they have estrogen, and this correlates with the churches, school of churches. I feel like this is an outdated version to think about certain things. Churches are founded by just sitting down and looking at a pastor preach, and that's how you guys learn. The first schools in America was founded by this, and I thought this is an old way of thinking. I feel like scientific studies show that most kids they study the best by getting up and learning while they're up and going. I thought this is an older way, outdated way of thinking. Let's talk about the white psychologists. 97% of female white psychologists are school psychologists. 97% are all white females, and I feel like they're falsely misdiagnosing Black and Latino boys with this because they can't correlate, they can't understand why they're not up to par with their education the way that some people in the suburban area may be experiencing. I feel as if that Latino and Black boys, they're not up to par, not because they have like a mental illness, it's because they don't understand the questions that's presented to them. So they falsely might misdiagnose them with ADHD or something, and this affects their record. They can know it's on their record, a permanent record forever. They can't get jobs. They can't get a ton of things that's presented. Cultural bias. I think the cultural bias is like when a white psychologist, she's looking at a Latino and a Black boy, she's not looking at something, a specific test to reason why they have ADHD. She's using her experience and trying to correlate that with if they have ADHD or ADD. And I want to also talk about the side effects of the medicine they have. The medicine they use, certain medicines that's Schedule 2 things, which is the same thing as crack cocaine. So they're using the same exact thing as crack cocaine, and it has bad side effects. They can have, it can cause you to not be able to have children and a ton of other things that I feel like the medicine has, which is our bad side effects and a mass incarceration. In 1980s, they cracked down. The United States busted a bunch of black and Latino males in 1980s who were selling crack cocaine. They arrested these black children fathers for 5 to 15 years, and they turn around and give their children the same exact drugs, but arrest their fathers for it. So they don't have their fathers to look up to who can make them settled and do a ton of things. And that's pretty much all I have right now about the mental illness and how it oppresses minority groups.
Okay, my topic is post-traumatic stress disorder, and that is currently something that the U.S. military only spends $3 billion out of their $590 billion budget. That is actually just about 0.5% of their budget. So only not even 1% of their budget goes to treating troops that are affected by PTSD. Currently, there are 770,000 troops that have been affected by PTSD, and out of that, you only get $3,896 a year on average. And typically they don't get long-term treatment. They only get quick treatment because the military feels that this is an issue that they're not really concerned with. I think that the big part of this is speaking out about the lack of spending for our troops, because 1 in 5 veterans are affected by PTSD and 1 in every 36 hours are committing suicide. People need to speak up about this and let society know that it is okay for these veterans to speak up about what they are suffering from. And this is a severe mental illness that needs to be talked about, and we must discuss why the military is not spending enough on our troops when they sacrificed everything for us, and they deserve better than this.
I'm going to be talking about the stigma of mental illness, and for critical literacy, there's a movie called World's Greatest Dad with Robin Williams, and he actually suffers from depression, and he fakes his own death to see what people would do, and what happened was that people actually felt for him, but they didn't feel for him when he was going through his life. Since he suffered from depression, he got made fun of and stuff. But as soon as he faked his own death, then people came in and were really worried about it, and they wanted to get help about it. And this is just in the world today, this is a common thing we see. If people are suffering from depression or anxiety or just some mental illness, we don't get the help for them until we know that it's too late and they've already either killed themselves or done something very harmful to themselves. And the way that people with mental illnesses are treated in society is really bad, and they get made fun of a lot. And I feel like for us as a society to be better, we should listen to them and see just see how they're feeling and how, what they're going through, just to be there for them. And anyone that has a mental illness, please seek help. See a counselor. Just get. There are people there for you that can help you get through whatever you're getting through. And yes, make sure to get help.